Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome if you're joining us live. Welcome if you're joining us on the replay. And if you're tuning in for the first time, or if you're tuning in because you tune in every week at 11:30, welcome. Gonna give it a minute or two for everyone to sign in. Today we're gonna revisit some important areas, some knees, some hips, low back. And I'll give you a couple of exercises at the end to do that's really gonna help those knees too. So welcome if you're joining us again for the first time, or join us every week. Nice to see you. We managed to squeeze in a few extra sessions. And hello Karen, nice to see you. Hello to anyone else, if you join us regularly. Awesome to see you. So today, again, we're going to work on a little bit of hips, low backs and knees. We're going to try and work our way up the body a little bit, and then I will give you some extra exercise at the end to do for yourselves that you can do anywhere. Hopefully, if you have a flight of stairs, don't be scared. It's not going to be too strenuous. I am going to turn the comments off now. So again, love to see you all if you're regular viewers. And if you have any requests, anything you'd like us to cover in these mobility sessions going forward, pop a message in the video we post afterwards. It really helps me. Or you can reach out to me directly on Fascial Stretch Simon, which is my Instagram handle that's posted in the information above. So like normal, we're going to use our lacrosse ball, but this time we're not going to start from the feet like we normally do. We're actually going to use it behind the knee. So you can also use a rolled up towel. I've got a green one. I'll show you how to use that in a minute. But for now, we're going to use the lacrosse ball. So first thing we want to do, and those of you that have done this one before probably know, is we're just going to pop it behind the knee. Now, if you have any joint replacements, this obviously isn't going to work, but if you don't, and you don't have any pre-existing conditions, which contraindications, all we're going to do is put the ball behind the knee. So taking the ball, placing it behind the knee, we're now just going to hold that either in position with our fingers, or if you've got enough stability there, you can just add a little bit of pressure with the hands. So the idea here is I'm kind of just vicing the knee open just a little bit, adding some pressure on internally. You want to work it into a position which works for you. So I would suggest starting on the inside edge of your knee, like on the musculature, but not really on the tendons so much, and then work it inwards a little bit as it starts to loosen up. So the idea here is you're working your foot towards your butt, you get a little bit of pressure between the hamstring and the calf, and also behind the knee too. And we're just trying to create space in that joint. So it's going to kind of squeeze it apart, put pressure, vice it apart, if you will, crowbar it, whatever you want to call it. We're just kind of easily getting into it. Now, if your tension pressure is about 7 or 8 out of 10, that's where you want to be. If it's more intense, I would just back off the pressure a little bit, and I would probably just kind of ease out of this. And again, if it's excruciating, I probably wouldn't go so hard. Okay, so we've done the medial edge. We're going to work into the middle a little bit more. So now move that lacrosse ball into the middle. And if you're someone who doesn't have a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball or something, you can use a towel as well. The green towel I had just a second ago. You can roll it up. I'll show you quickly as we sit here with this ball behind the knee. You can just roll it up into a small lengthways about the thickness of the lacrosse ball, and just pop it behind the knee. It's a good way to do a catch-all position for that knee. Okay, so you can also bring your toe towards you, and what that'll do is that'll actually lengthen the calf a little bit and add a little bit more intensity. And as you rock back, you can actually push down as well and then ease off, and that will also add some tension from the quad, reciprocally inhibit the hamstring, and you should get a little bit deeper with this movement, pulling the foot back towards your butt, okay? And if you need to use a wall, obviously to balance, you can do that too. We're going to move to the outside now. So again, use your fingers to balance that lacrosse ball. We're catching the meat of the muscle. I just like to put my hand around just to stabilize in this position because it'd be a little bit unstable. It likes to pop out. You'll see that when we do the other side in a second. And we're just getting this foot towards our butt, okay? So just easing into it. And then relax. So again, idea here is we're just kind of opening the space behind our knee. We'll do the other side now. I'm going to start on the inside and work outwards. If you're just tuning in, we're doing some work on opening up the knees just a little bit and around, just getting some of the tension off the back side of our knee for those that have it. Otherwise, you're probably staring at me just for a few minutes thinking, what is he doing? I just see a man sitting on a bench. That's okay too. If you have a lacrosse ball, we're just going to put it behind our knee and we're slowly creeping our foot in. Intention here is to loosen up the calf, the hamstring, behind the knee, open that joint up a little bit, okay? So a little bit of pressure pulling that foot towards our butt, and we're just squeezing just a little bit. So squeeze, 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 squeeze. And you can also bring your toe up towards you as well. Lengthen that calf. You can pull that foot towards your butt as well to get the hamstring engaged. Alternatively, you can engage the quad by pushing down slightly to imagine you're extending the leg, and that will inhibit the hamstring and you should be able to get a little bit deeper. So as it relaxes, you're moving that foot towards your butt. One leg is going to be easier to do than the other. And now let's move it into the middle. So I'm going to just place it behind the kneecap or into the joint. It will kind of push down just a little bit as you do this. So just give it a chance to kind of relax. And we're just bringing this knee back, this foot back towards our butt, sorry. Awesome. So we're just pulling this foot back towards us again. And this time, toe up again. So we're trying to bring that toe up. And if you can't get it up from this middle position, that's a good sign you probably need to do a little bit more work in just opening this knee up, okay? All right, so let's move to this medial edge. Now you'll be able to see it a little bit more on what I do on the side, but I'm just placing my thumb on the ball just to hold it in position because it tends to just pop out on this side, okay? So we're holding it in position on this one side, just round the shin, working my foot back towards my butt, just letting it relax. And the other thing to do, obviously, as we always say, is just make sure you're taking a breath because that's going to help you with the relaxing of the knee. Okay? So you can hang out there, you can do this as many times as you need to. Today we're going to skip ahead just a little bit. We're going to need something to pad our knee. I have a kind of a rubber floor, so I'm going to pad my knee with a pad. You can use a pillow. We're going to go into a couch stretch. So again, a little bit more advanced for some people. I will show you a less advanced variation if you want, but we're going to put the pad down on the floor, we're going to place our foot up on the bench, and we're just coming down. You can even do this on your couch, hence why it's called a couch stretch, because it will be about the right height for you to actually put your foot in a position which will stabilize you. So again, the idea here is foot is behind us up on the bench, we're having a stretch through the front of the hip, and also we're going to make sure that our hips are square facing forward, okay? If you're feeling pressure in the low back, that could just be because your pelvis is slightly rotated. We'll do some work on that in a bit as well. But for now, you're going to come forward until you feel there's no stretch. So you can either lean forward or lean right forward into the weight on your left foot. I'm on my right side. And then we're going to slowly come back until you feel a little bit more pressure and a stretch through the quad, the hip, and then obviously as it moves up your body. So wants to be about 7 out of 10 at this stage, okay? So we're gonna bring our hips forward, so you turn your hips slightly to add the stretch. We're gonna now push back into the bench slightly as we bring our chest up, and imagine that you're lengthening your spine too. So there's a few things going on there. It's a bit of a pat your head, rub your tummy kind of thing. But with this, we're making sure that the stretch is mainly focused through the hip flexor and the quad, and that we're not straining our low back to get into position. So if you feel like this is too difficult, just bring your weight forward. And then if you want to add another level to this, you can push your foot into the bench, lean back with your chest up, and you should be able to get your heel to your butt by leaning backwards, okay? So let's move on to the other side. We're going to revisit this about 2 or 3 times because we want to make sure that we're doing this properly, thoroughly, and we have a few variations that make it easier and harder, okay? So just come down to the floor, Bring this other foot out, however gracefully you want to do it. You can just stand up and then come back down again, that's fine too. So again, come forward until there's no stretch, because we want to make sure we're in the right position. We're leaning back with our chest nice and proud, head is being pulled up to the ceiling with elongated spine. We're then making sure we're stable, and our foot is on the bench. So again, 7 out of 10 is good. Making sure there's a stretch through the quad and the hip flexor. So if there isn't, you may find you need to just bring your hip forward and lean your chest back just a little bit. If it goes into your knee, there could be other things going on. So just be aware. If you have a hip replacement, this can be done. It's not so bad, but I would just consult your medical practitioner for advice on that one. Okay, chest nice and proud. Leaning our chest backwards and bring our hip forwards, and now let's switch back again. So you notice we're just going through the basics for this one for those who haven't done it before, just covering off this stretch. Just going to bring our foot up. Now we're going to add in a little bit more of an advanced variation. So for those that want to work their knee back more towards the bench, you can do that. For those that are just feeling a real stretch, just stick with this one. This can be intense enough, and make sure you breathe nice and deep into your diaphragm. So you would just hang out, take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And as I breathe out, I'm just sinking backwards with a nice tall, proud chest towards the heel. Okay, so nice deep breath in. Sinking back. If you want to take this to level 2, we can engage by pushing into the foot, extending that leg and that hip. You should feel a stretch in the quad. And then as I breathe out, I'm leaning until my butt comes towards my heel, and I feel quite an intense stretch through that hip. If you're not rotating that hip, then you probably won't feel the stretch as much. Next level for this one, we'll add in when we come back again, okay? So we've done both sides. We've done this with a little bit of variation and an active stretch, like a PNF variation. We're going to move back again. So if you want to do this and kind of cover the notes, pause the replay and then come back. Flip back again. And if you need something to stabilize with, you can always grab like the foam roller or a broom or something, or lean on the wall like I have. That's completely fine too. Especially helpful with some of the other variations we'll do with this. So my chest is nice and tall, my shoulders are back. You can even tuck your chin as well if you want. Imagine there's a piece of string coming through your head. We are breathing in. As we breathe out, we're leaning nice tall chest. Hips are rotated under slightly. I'm going to stretch through my quad and my hip flexor. And now I'm going to take a breath in. Breathing out, stretch through the hip and relax. Okay? So again, it's engagement of the foot into the bench. We're trying to get some quad or leg extension and a little bit of hip extension too, just to get that on an active stretch. Sometimes we aren't tight, maybe we're weak, and this kind of hits both of those angles. So it's a little bit of a stretch and a little bit of strengthening because we're activating in that position. We also want to make sure we're squeezing our butt too. If you do that, you do all those things, then you pretty much got this locked down. So chest nice and tall, pushing into the bench, and leaning back when we relax. Okay, let's go back to the first setup again on our right leg. This will be the final time each leg. Appreciate this time we are moving through it again quite a few times, but want to make sure that we're not spending too long in those positions. For some people, it might be a little bit intense, okay? So this would be where we add our next level, and the way we're going to do this is we're actually going to add a reach up. So we're putting pressure, so you can even stabilize with this hand. We are leaning backwards, and we can even lean over, just slightly rotating our chest out. So now you've got this stretch coming all the way up your chest, as well as into the hip flexor and the quad. moving as we breathe out. So as you fill your lungs, and then as you breathe out, that's when you're going to form the stretch. So we're looking a little bit like this. We're going to breathe in. I'm pushing my hip this way as I do that, just to add that stretch all the way up. Okay? So combination you could do is active stretch through the quad, pushing into the bench. I'm relaxing backwards. I'm turning my body, and then I'm adding a little bit more of a lean as well. And it will travel all the way up your body into the spiral portion. Let's change one more time. And we're going to do the same thing. So again, you can stabilize with this knee by placing your hand on the inside, because again, we're turning slightly. You can even open this way if that's easier for you, and just rotate. Or you can bring your hand over, elongate your body, and then turn as you bring your hand over the top. And that should be enough to kind of open this area. So again, take a deep breath in. Breathe out as you activate that quad, and then fall back into it. Take a deep breath in. As I push my hip this way, deep breath in. I'm feeling a nice deep stretch through this side, okay? So let's move out of position. Again, just to review, we're making sure that we're opening up our hips through a little bit of a couch stretch. So I'm gonna grab a foam roller now, if you have one, or if you have something that you can lay on top of. We're just gonna do a brief opening of that psoas, kind of iliacus area, just with a little bit of pressure and breath. So we're not really doing too much in terms of movement, but we can do if we want to. So I'm gonna lay this way. We're gonna do our right side, close to you. Orange top, orange foam roller, hopefully you can see it. If you can't, let me know in the comments afterwards, and I'll make sure for next week we change that. But we are rolling, so we're laying on top of the roller, and this is just a pressure kind of based scenario. So we're just letting our body weight sink in, letting it kind of naturally lengthen as we lay it on top of the foam roller. So nice deep breaths in and out. And as you take that breath in, fill up your diaphragm, and as you breathe out, we're sinking as low as we can into that foam roller. Imagine you're trying to absorb the foam roller into your body as you kind of let your body wrap around it on that out breath. So nice deep breath in. Deep breath in. Excellent. And this time what we can do is we can, if you're feeling a little bit tension in your low back as you do this, you can lay flat this way. If you want to add a little bit more of a stretch, we can even do kind of a sphinx pose or cobra. And if you want to add some variation, you come to the side, rotation, that's either side. And the last thing you could do, if you wanted to, is raise that leg up. So as long as you're keeping that pressure into the foam roller or something that has a pressure like an exercise ball works great, like a small one, you can lift this leg up, keeping that pressure into that side right there. So again, combination of two you could do is putting yourself in this cobra position, lifting this leg, making sure your body is sinking into that foam roller. That would be a little bit advanced for some people, but if you're at that stage and you want to do that stretch, you can. I would stick with the basics if I were you, if this is your first time. I'm going to flip around, I'm going to show you from another angle, facing this way, so you can see my legs a little bit more this time. And again, I want to use your body weight sinking into the stretch, because that's going to help you to open up this front side that if you couldn't open in the last stretch, in the couch stretch, might help you to get a little bit more extension of the back without any of that compression, and also a little bit more length out the psoas if it's something that's restricted for you, which some people it is, some people it's not. So again, I'm going to give you a little bit more of my leg this time, a little bit less of my head, but we are letting our body weight sink into this foam roller, which unfortunately is the same color as my shirt, if you can't quite see it. I'm sinking my body, or turning my hip into this foam roller. And the idea here is I'm just letting my body weight do the work as I breathe out. So I'm just breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. Let my body weight sink. And then I can add in either a leg lift, so I can just extend my leg, that would be enough if it's kind of a little bit too much for you, or I can lift my leg as I keep my hip and full pressure down on the front roller, or I can alternatively lift myself up from the front, and this can cause a little bit of extension of the spine. So if you have any low back issues, this might be one to avoid. And then you could also do both as well. All right, so that would be a little bit of a front side opener. If it's more effective for you to do that before you do the calf stretch, feel free to. For some people, it's actually a little bit easier afterwards, so which is why I do it that way around that time. Okay, so we're now into a little bit of an adductor opening. We're going to start with a little bit of a check-in, see how you feel. So let's just do a kind of a tactical frog position. So we're about shoulder width apart, we have a nice neutral spine, and we're just going to kind of rock back, just do a check-in, all the way forward, over our hands slightly, just kind of see how our hips feel, if they need a little bit of work as well. So mine don't feel too bad today. We're going to go through a couple of variations for you to kind of help the crankiness in your hips. This is just to kind of gauge, this is our feedback loop. This is just gauging our before and after, just to kind of see how you feel. Worth checking in again afterwards, okay? So for this one, quite simple. If you haven't done this one before, we're going to do our split position like we did on the couch, but this time our foot's down on the ground. We are going to rock our weight forward, keeping our torso nice and tall, and the weight should just come into that front foot. And the idea is we're working from 12 o'clock round to about 3 o'clock. And from 3 o'clock, we're going to make a transition into another position. And then from the other side, we're going to do 12 o'clock to about 9 o'clock. And then we're going to transition into another position from there. So I'm working my foot around as I kind of feel I'm able to. So if I'm not restricted closest to the hip, so proximal to the hip or in the joint itself, I'm working my way around the clock to help open it up. So rocking forward, and if you have any pressure with the knee on the floor, you can put something under it as well. That's completely fine. Yoga mat or a foam pad like I have, quite cheap to get. And with this side, you know, if I was more restricted, I'd probably spend a little bit more time. So let's just imagine I have some restriction about, half of between 12 and 3, about half 1, let's say, and I would shift my weight backwards and forwards. I'd try and keep my torso nice and tall, and I'd add more weight into that position as I shift forward. I'm not leaning, I'm keeping my chest nice and tall, pushing away, making sure my heel stays down, and I'm rocking forward. Can it also be beneficial if you do this barefoot too? So just bear that in mind if you haven't got barefoot on. So I've gone round to about 3 o'clock. I'm now going to transition, so and move across, you can see. So my foot is going to be either flat on the floor if you can get it flat, or it can be up. And I'm in my tactical kind of position that I was before. I'm just rocking my hips back. So the idea here is if you've seen a goalie stretch before, if you've seen someone kind of warming up for ice time, a goalie or so on, we're just getting that ball to roll in the socket, we're getting that adductor to kind of lengthen and get used to the position, and we're just rocking back. If your foot's up, that's completely fine. As you work into it, you can flatten your foot. As we rock back, we can even turn our foot up. So as we rock back, we turn our foot back. Adding downward pressure will also help to traction out that hip. So I'll give you an example. We're going to push down. I'm going to move my hip this way away from the foot, and you should feel the stretch kind of be a little bit more beneficial as we open up that hip. So as I'm coming back, I'm pushing this foot down and I'm moving this hip this way. You'll feel a little bit more of an opening of the hip as we traction out that hip. Awesome. And if you are interested in getting a little bit of assistance with stretching, feel free to reach out to any of the Good Life Fitness team that are back and operating, hopefully soon for us, or myself. I might be able to refer you to a fascial stretch therapist in your area. and they'll be able to do a little bit of hands-on work with the stretching as well. So feel free to reach out to me or anyone else on the team, and we'll direct you in the right place. So now I'm going to transition across the other side. Again, if you were following before, the idea with this one is to open up the adductor. Feels a little bit loose from this side, which is great. So we're going to switch up. We're going to go 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock this time. And we're just going to start by bringing our weight forward. So if you feel too much pressure on your knees, feel free to grab a yoga mat, a pad, something that pads those knees, a cushion even, that works great. We can even add some more pressure into the knee if you want to. That can also help with your ankle mobility, so you kind of get a little 2-in-1. I'm just working around because today I'm a little bit looser than usual, so feeling pretty good. Just work my way around. And if you do get stuck in any areas, again, if let's say I'm stuck between 12 and 9, I'm half 10, let's say, and I'm restricted here, what I can do is I can just hang out, keep my chest nice and tall, keep my hips facing forward if I can, and then I'm just going to shift the weight whilst keeping my weight centered. It can also work if you have like a kettlebell as well. So, rocking around. Let's get into our more tactical position, our goalie stretch position. My foot is up, or either flat or down, and I'm just rocking backwards from this position, just getting a stretch to move all the way up my leg. You may even find that the muscles kind of roll across each other from the hamstring, the adductors, and that's okay. Pushing back into position, rocking back into position. And then as I start to rock now, I'm lifting that toe up, I'm turning it, I'm tractioning by pushing my heel into the ground, and I'm pushing my hips this way as I rock back. I'm rocking back. So again, let's do a check-in. You can do that for as long as you need, but that I find really works well if you spend a couple of minutes each session. So now we're in our tactical position. So where we start is going to do our feedback loop. We're just rocking back and forward. See how that feels? Rocking back and forward, back and forward. Excellent. Feels good. So I said I'd give you a couple of exercises to do. So I'm going to grab my homemade step just to kind of show you a couple of variations. So when it comes to knees, we want to make sure that we are training them in the right way. So we did a little bit of release on the knee at the start. We're going to do a little bit of a simple exercise that you can do at home if you have a step. Most people do if you're at home, and that's just a step down with a knee by its position. So I'll turn to the side so you can see first. We are going to step down with your knee traveling slightly forward. Okay. So on the step, I'm going to bring my foot down. As I come down, my heel's going to lift slightly, and then I'm just pushing back up. The idea with this one is keeping everything engaged. It's just a heel touch. So it comes down, back up again. Or if you want to do it with more control, you just try and get it up as fast as you can. So heel is lifting, coming down, back up. Unbalance. Heel is coming down, I'm coming back up. So it's just a touch and a go. And you notice that how my heel's lifting slightly as my knee comes forward. This is the position which, if you have any discomfort and you haven't had a knee replacement or any other issues with the knee, anything that's kind of been diagnosed, then this one could be a really great one for you to help heal that knee, build some capacity and range. From the other side, again, it's a touch down and then a step back up. So when you keep our glutes engaged as we come down, and then in this position it's a squeeze and a roll. So it's squeezing the glutes, rolling the heel, make sure the hips are stable, we're coming back up, making sure that knee's traveling forward. Second exercise we can give you is a lateral step down. So you're going to imagine with this one, same kind of thing, but with what we're doing is working lateral stability. So if you imagine that we're tight around this area, we've worked our adductors a little bit, we're going to bring this foot down and we're going to step back up again. We're going to push our hip away this way, and then we come back up again. Okay? So hip goes away, we come back up again. And turn to the side so you can see. Foot comes down, comes up. Foot comes down, comes up. Laterally, it's going to work your lateral stability. I'm not bending from the waist, I'm coming straight up. Those could be two really, really effective exercises for you. One for your knee, one for your lateral stability and hip. And if you have any thing you would like us to cover next week, you can turn the comments on for a minute. Then leave it in the comments section of the video that we post afterwards, and we see if we can cover it for you. If you have any comments, as I say, insults, feel free to leave those in the video afterwards. But thank you again. Same time next week, 11:30. We'll be doing hopefully some more great stuff then. And yeah, see you soon. Ciao for now.